Holman, it's been quite an eventful week for me. I don't know about you. Well, I do know about you. You went on one heck of an adventure, which I want to hear about in this episode. I had a couple of videos that went out of control. I don't know if you saw that on my my Instagram and my YouTube.
I was wondering, you did it in that really weird style where you're like narrating your life story. It fell flat with this viewer.
I know.
Because it wasn't you. It was like this, hi, I'm a homeowner who almost had my vehicle stolen.
Well,
and here's what I did.
so-
It was just a weird, the affect was odd.
I get that.
Why
and
did you do that?
Because it was easier for me to produce it that way. Here's what Holman is referring to.
After an attempted theft of one of my vehicles, I went on a mission to figure out how to deter thieves from attempting to break in again and again. Yes, the vehicles all have alarms, glass break sensors, kill switches, and CAN bus shunts. Sure, those things will keep the cars from getting stolen, but they won't keep the glass from being broken again and again by punk thieves that don't realize I've installed all that expensive equipment. So I went on a mission to find a physical and visual deterrent. What you see here are stainless steel bollards that will survive a 25 mile per hour impact with a 5,000 pound vehicle. I figure it's hard to get going 25 miles per hour when the bollard is only 2 feet from your bumper. When not in use, these bollards sit flush in the ground and when extended, stand like 42-inch tall stainless steel soldiers. If you're interested in learning more about protecting your vehicle in your own driveway, hit me in the comments. I'll set you up with my contractor.
There's a video that I posted to my YouTube channel, and I had a whopping 700 subscribers.
Okay.
So that was on a Saturday morning.
And it blew up?
So I woke up the next morning to about 500,000 views.
Nice.
I go, well, that was crazy.
Oh, well done.
So today, it's at above 1.4 million,
Okay.
which is wild. And I thought, that's crazy. Oh, wait, I got a message from our buddy Rich Holdaway at Holdaway Construction. He goes, are you going to answer any of those comments on Instagram? And I go, what are you talking about? He goes, you're real. I go, there's some views on YouTube that's kind of new. He's like, buddy, your reel on Instagram has 2.1 million views. I go, excuse me, what? So combined 3 million views on that video.
Which
Now-
you're monetizing, don't you?
Well, it's really hard to monetize a 60-second video.
I
Now, if
know.
that were 10 minutes long, sure, I might be able to make some money, but that wasn't the point. I just put this up, and what I found was very interesting, Holman. I haven't personally you've had some mild viral videos with Jeep content and stuff like that. I haven't had one, and this one was not expected at all. Again, it was just me narrating
how
what
viral
I was
happens,
doing, right?
yep.
So that's what happens. I want later in the show for you to go through the comments because you're going to find them fascinating. There are some people that are supporting me, but about 80%, maybe even higher, are those who are telling me to get out of California.
Yeah, well, can you blame them?
But it's not about California. There's just as much theft per capita in Texas. Mm-hmm. It became incredibly political in the comments at LBC Lightning. Go to my reels. You'll see it. By the time you're hearing this, I'll have more than 2.1 million views because it's going to keep going. I'm looking at the statistics, and it's like hockey stick. It's still going. It's it was straight, and then it would go straight up. It's incredible how politicized this has been. They're like, tell me you live in California without telling me you live in California, or you need to move, or that's where all the thieves are in California. It's like, and a bunch of guys are like, I bet you're a Biden voter. I bet you're like, I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm talking about my truck. And they're like, the guy who accuses me of being a Biden voter, and who cares
Why
if
do
I
you
am or
care?
what?
Yeah.
But the thing is, dude, do you see what's in my driveway? It's the most gas-guzzling middle finger to the liberal community ever.
Yeah, your,
what do you not
license
even?
plate says yummy gas.
It's insane.
You're welcome.
What? I've tried to answer some of these.
Emotionally damaged before?
No, I'm not at all.
Okay.
I've actually, so for a living, I do this for banks, right? I answer all these comments. So I'm having fun with this. And luckily, no one's insulting me like you're an a-hole, you're a moron.
All you did was put
But
bollards
the
up.
comments have been very interesting. It's got thousands of comments. I literally cannot answer them.
It resonated with people.
I'm not saying it's bad at all.
And you're
It's cool.
welcome. Because you thought bollards would be stupid. And here you are. Now you have a viral
right?
video. Rich is getting business out of it.
It's wild. It's just very interesting to see this, to go through this. Yeah, phenomenal. And I'm sure, I do 50 more videos, and they're not going to do this. I get it. I'm like, I'm a YouTuber now. Come on. I'm not pretending that this is going to happen again, but it's just been neat to watch this. and watch the algorithms at work. But what I want to express to you, Holman, is how political it got. And it was just, I didn't expect that at all, to like all the California hate. It's
Meanwhile, I was unplugged completely from the grid for 2.5 days
Right.
and came back to 458 emails.
You got back and you're like, I guess lightning's a star.
No,
No, you didn't say that
No,
at
I
all?
went through and I couldn't stand watching your video because
I
it had
know.
that weird voiceover.
Yeah.
I almost had my vehicle stolen in California. So what do I do? Because I don't want to
kinda
sell
like
my
it.
house.
I like it. It's
Hey,
a different
God
thing for me.
bollards.
Yeah, it was weird. I was like, God, I can't. It was unwatchable for me. So I was not one of your engagements. I boned out.
All right, that's fine.
I left you to the wolves.
I don't need you. I got plenty of millions.
Meanwhile, I was on a trip. I covered 2,200 miles in a week.
That's a lot. And you were with the AEV guys,
Yeah,
right?
we were with the AV crew, and we were in San Rafael Swell.
Were
in
you
Utah.
installing bollards throughout your trip?
I
or
was
no?
not, and
Okay.
then we were also in the San Juan Mountains. Being, have you ever been in a storm that was 85 degrees and hailing with 60-mile-an-hour gale force winds blowing against you?
Wait, what?
Yeah,
Wait, 80
exactly.
is hail.
It
How's
was
that
the
possible?
weirdest thing. Thunder had formed right above this canyon wall we were camped on the side of, and we had hail and giant raindrops and vicious winds and
Now,
lightning. So
this
if you
is-
go to my my Instagram, you see some of the photos of it. I posted a video.
This is the Shelf Road.
This was overlooking. This was in the San Rafael Swell, not too far from Moab, and I posted a video of me in my tent. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh, no,
one.
I didn't see that one. I saw the one with you looking out the hood where you were on a Shelf Road and a
Yeah.
bunch of motorcyclists went the other way.
No, that was in Colorado.
Oh.
This was the video of me in my tent.
Oh, that's hail. Holy mackerel. Dang. It's almost coming through your tent.
Oh, it was coming through my tent.
Oh, it
right
was?
through the zipper, hitting me in the face. The tent was rocking. Yeah.
That's freaky.
What do you think I averaged fuel economy wise? So 392 Wrangler on 37s, 456 factory gears with a roof rack that had my max track, some water on it, and then loaded down.
Well, you wouldn't be asking if you got like really crappy mileage.
Oh no!
I think-
Stand by.
okay, right. All right. Okay, well, then now you're going the other direction. Okay, it's normally like in the 11s or 12s, right? Something like that, isn't it? I think daily driving it, you're probably 7-ish.
I did 14.3. Was my average on the whole trip.
14.3.
Yeah.
That's better than normal.
No.
It's not?
No, it'll do 15, 16
does?
unloaded slick top. Yeah, on the highway if I behave myself. But I hit a new record crawling where I was in low range and having to manually shift and do all that. 4.7. So I took a picture. I took a picture of my driver information center. Mm-hmm. And the thing that I wanted to point out is I have a 21.5 gallon tank. This is with a third of the tank gone. I've only gone 20.5 miles, and my range is 69 left.
Oh, no.
So it would have been less than 100 miles on that tank.
Oh, that's awful and funny and cool.
I mean, whatever. I was
Yeah.
out enjoying it, and
Sure.
So I have the Taser, right? I can do forced rear wheel drive.
Uh-huh.
And we're crawling up to in one of the passes. I think this one might have been Ophir, I think. And there were some switchbacks that we had to get through. And these guys in these Can-Ams were just up everybody's butt, passing and stuff. And so one of the guys from AV gets on the radio, and he's like, hey, that guy, watch out, this guy's passing, and he's just spraying everybody with rocks. So the guy gets right on my ass. I put the Taser in forced rear-wheel drive, and I
Oh,
just
you blasted
mashed
him?
it
No,
and
yes.
just shot a roost of rocks all over, hit him in the face, all over. Chris from AV gets on the radio and goes, that's one way to deal with them. so that was a little bit fun.
Did they not try to get back at you by going around
What's
you?
he going to do? He's on my butt. I'm driving uphill. It's like, sorry, guy.
Well, at some point,
I let him
there's gonna
pass
be-
after that. After
He didn't
I sprayed
spray
him.
you with
No,
rocks?
No, I think he kind of got the message and mellowed out. And so one other thing I want to talk about is our buddy Joe Z over at Z Automotive sent me
Yes.
the brand new No Limits before my trip.
What?
So I installed it, and so I've got 2,000 plus miles on the No Limits. It's so nice, and I know it does a bunch of stuff like
First of all,
speed limit.
People don't know what you're talking about.
That's what I'm trying to explain. It does a lot of stuff like removes your speed limit. It is a way to interface with the vehicle without leaving a mark on your PCM. It doesn't retune anything. Plugs in your star connector. The number one thing about it that I loved is it removes 4-cylinder MDS mode.
And this is in addition to the Taser, correct?
This is in addition to the Taser. It's a different device. And there's some other stuff. We'll talk about it in an upcoming episode when we have Joe Z on. But it was so nice driving cross country and not having it going in and out of 4-cylinder mode all the time. and you don't get that drone of it dropping into the 4-cylinder mode. It's just so much better to drive it, and the fuel economy wasn't really impacted. And I do all of my fuel economy. Like I have an app called Fuely, and I track everything. Looking at my my logs, these were the numbers that I got: 14.9, 10.6, 10.7, 5.2 on that one. Mm-hmm. There was a little bit of highway after the 4.7, 12.2, 13.6, 14.4. On the lifetime of the vehicle so far on my 392, according to the app, which is awesome, it's 13 miles per gallon.
That's not bad.
Average over 22,000 miles.
What's the name of the app again?
And this one's Fuely, and you can track all your
Fuely.
stuff. Yep. It'll track you, fuel costs, total gallons. You just put it in when you fill up. Okay, so my previous Jeep, which was my V6 that was supercharged with the stick, what do you think the average miles per gallon was on the V6? Supercharged for half its life, so this is only half of it with a manual.
Well, that one was
and it was
worse.
Identically set up. Same wheels.
Yeah, 12-ish,
tires.
11, 12.
So that Jeep, the original Adventure Jeep, was 13.3, and this is 13. So I'm giving up almost nothing having a V8 and getting way more joy out of it.
Yeah.
So
way better sound. That's for sure.
It was a pleasure to drive. But anyway, yeah, so out with the AV guys, and they had a couple of GMC Canyon and a Colorado ZR2 Bison out there.
Did they have prospectors as well? Or
no prospectors on the trip. Originally, we were going to.
Would that be too big for the trail?
Not really, no. But they had the Chevys, and it was really cool to see those things rock crawling and legit trucks on 35s. Like, it was really awesome to see how well the mid-sized trucks from GM did on the trail. And they hung with the Jeeps, and definitely took a little bit more to get over obstacles and stuff like that. But they have to be one of the best setups that you can buy. If you want to go to my Instagram at Sean P. Holman, photos of the trip, some kind of overviews, the lightning storm that I got photos of, and then I have a couple funny reels that have a few thousand views. One was I'm going up, 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 and the nose is lifting, and I chose a wrong line, and I kind of back down a little bit, and I go again, and you hear the bottom of the Jeep just slam into the ground.
Oh, no.
So that's a good one. And then the other one...
You didn't bend anything?
No, it's a Jeep. It's fine. And then the other one was shelf roads. So I cut up a bunch of my dash cam photos of like 6 or 7 different shelf roads, put them into one long video.
That's the one that I saw.
Yeah. And basically asked the question, like,
what would you do?
Yeah, what would you do? Fill in the blanks. You driving a shelf road is like fill in the blanks, and everybody there's like, oh hell no, and then there's the it's funny. So that one's been
it's sketchy. Cool. You guys have seen on Instagram Reels or Facebook Reels or whatever, you've seen like the super sketchy road on the side of a Tibetan cliff. It's kind of like that.
Oh, we were literally on the side of roads where there was thousands of feet down. We had gone up to the top pass that we did was Ophir, and that was at just over 13,000 feet. California passed at over 12,000. We camped at over 10,000 feet.
And are you right on the edge? Like, are you on your tire is on the cusp?
Couple feet.
Okay.
Yeah, there might be 18 inches or so at times.
So if you had the TRX, would that be on the edge because it's wider, or is it sketchy with a truck that wide?
I don't think so. I mean, you're still within the confines of the road.
Okay.
You're not like hanging off tires or anything like that, but. So Imogene was 13,114 feet, which is one of the highest passes in the continental U.S. And you can see...
It's hard to breathe up there.
It was. We had a little oxygen boost. You know how you see those things? It's like, boost oxygen, and they sell them in Vegas. There's like oxygen bars. You're like, oh, what a bunch of whatever.
Super useful up there.
When you're sleeping at night, and so my heart rate's usually around like 68, 70 resting. It was 90 up there. My watch was like giving me like... Your heart rate's been really high the last couple of days. I'm like,
so can you even get to sleep?
No kidding. Yeah, I slept fine, but you'd wake up and you'd be like out of breath and resting. You'd take a hit off the boost oxygen thing. You'd be like, all right, go back to sleep. You'll get headaches and stuff. So it took a few days to acclimate. But yeah, it was a great trip. It's the San Juan Mountains of Colorado is one of the most epic places you can take a vehicle in the United States. It's just unbelievable, and to have it with a capable crew and capable vehicles was super rad. All right, so on this show, we kind of have a celebrity that's not someone from the U.S.
Simon Christie is a face you'd see on four-wheel drive TV if you lived in Australia. He's out of Melbourne, and I think you guys are going to dig this interview. He's quite a character, super knowledgeable, and you'll be interested to find out what the Aussies think of the Americans. It's great.
And Australia is one of our biggest markets outside the U.S. I think it's our third biggest market or something like that. So before we get him on the horn, we got to thank our presenting sponsor, and that is Nissan. By the way, Nissan just dropped the info on the 2025 Nissan Frontier refresh officially. So we'll hit that in the news section. I think it looks pretty rad.
I got a winner!
And yeah, I think people are going to like the updates. So 2025 Nissan Frontier coming soon. If you are interested in getting a truck, you can probably get a good deal on the 2024 Frontier. Of course, we love the Pro 4X. We love the zero gravity seats, the Fender audio system, the spray and bed liner, the Utilitrack bed system. I mean, there's just so much to like in that truck, especially the standard 310 horsepower 3.8 liter V8, backed by the 9-speed automatic. So if you're looking for a new truck, head on down to your local Nissan dealership, or you can find out all the features and options and specs over at nissanusa.com.
You got another month of summer or so left, and you're still doing some hauling, right? You've got your fifth wheel trailer, your boat out to the lake, whatever. That means your rear diff temps are a little hotter than you'd like. How do you cool those off? You head over to bankspower.com and you pick yourself up a Ram Air rear differential cover. They will cool down the lube temps significantly. Longer lasting lube means longer lasting gears. Got them for American Axle for most of the GM and Ram trucks. Got Sterling and Dana M275 for your Ford guys. Head over to bankspower.com and check out the Ram Air rear differential cover to keep your rear end cool.
All right, got some great news for all of you who love AMSOIL the same way we do. Did you know they now offer an oil change in a box?
What? No?
Yeah.
What?
Oil change kits ordered through the AMSOIL vehicle lookups come with everything you need to complete your oil change. So head over to AMSOIL.com. You can put your information in through the vehicle lookup, and everything you need is in one box. Not only does it ship to your door fast and free, but the kits include your choice of whatever the recommended AMSOIL motor oil is, an AMSOIL oil filter, even a pair of nitrile gloves, a fast funnel, and check this out. They even include the AMSOIL oil change decal so you can put when your next service is up in the corner of your windshield. The problem with those is when you use the Sharpie, over time, the ink is in the UV and it fades. AMSOIL's oil change intervals are so long that you won't know what it is. But no, AMSOIL.
So they should have given you like a paint pen or something?
Maybe that's what they need in there. Right. So AMSOIL says, we're focused on making the world's best oil change. And part of that means making it easy to order what you need. When you buy the world's best oil change, you should also have the best experience for finding what you need. To placing the order, installing the products, they've got their online tools with fast, free delivery. These oil change kits. Everything comes in one box. You can get it all at AMSOIL.com.
And when you're scratching your head going, I wonder what kind of tonneau cover Lightning would buy. It would be the EGR road track
I've
system.
slept at night soundly without ever thinking that.
No? Really?
No, that's not true. I was at 10,000 feet. And
you were not sleeping.
And we had
your heart was pounding.
We had some pickup trucks with us, and as I was wondering if I was going to die up on the mountain, I thought, what tonneau cover would I get on these new trucks?
Dude, I'm telling you.
What would Lightning do?
Because I've talked about it before. I have been in my truck bed, kind of as a gag, when it was pouring rain, bucketing rain. It doesn't do that often in California, but I got in there, and I literally, because I wanted to see how watertight this was, and you should have slept during your hailstorm under an EGR roll track system.
It would have been drier? Is that what you're saying?
Way drier. And well, it would have had an interesting metallic sound.
Well, like my tent was any better?
It sounded awful in your tent. Anyway, if you're looking for a manually retractable or electric retractable tonneau cover, you should head over to EGRUSA.com because they're constantly releasing new applications. So if you don't see your truck there today, you might see it there tomorrow. EGRUSA.com.
The Truck Show. We're gonna show you what we know. We're gonna answer what the truck, 'cause truck rhymes with the Truck Show. We have the lifted, we have the lowered, and everything in between. We'll talk about trucks that run on diesel and the ones that run on gasoline. The Truck Show, the Truck Show, the Truck Show. Whoa, whoa.
It's the Truck Show with your hosts, Lightning and Holman.
All right, so on the bat phone, we've got Mr. Simon Christie, all the way from Melbourne. How do you say it properly? Holman, you do the Australian thing.
I'm not going to do it.
You're not going to butcher it?
Nope.
What's the proper way to pronounce that? Melbourne, Simon?
You got it right. Spot on. Melbourne.
There you go. So the second syllable is kind of crushed together. Melbourne.
See, Simon, you don't know that I have a very unnatural fascination with Australians. I love Australians, and I love Australia, and so I get excited every time I get a chance to do stuff with your people.
And when he doesn't have an Australian on the horn, he does a bad
bad Crocodile Dundee accent.
No, but it's okay. It's much better than mine. I won't do it. It's an embarrassment to me. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So what people don't realize is the Truck Show podcast, our number 3 country of listeners is Australia.
That's impressive. Okay.
I think that's pretty amazing, right? Simon Christie, who is a host, a producer, an adventurer, an outdoorsman. I was looking at all the stuff that you do. So 4-wheel drive TV in Australia, or 4WD TV. You have 30 gazillion followers down there, and apparently you're a big deal.
Wow, what a welcome, guys. Thank you so much. Yeah, look, we started humbly 20 years ago. This is our 20th year of production. We've been creating TV shows, traveling all over the world for 20 years now. So 4-wheel drive TV has been a huge learning curve for us. A fairly big following on Facebook, 1.8 million followers there, and in excess of 600,000 of those are from the Americas, North and South. So we've got a big following. We have a lot of fans who just think we're an American program and an American company. So it's quite interesting, the messages and comments we get, especially when it comes down to how we spell tyre. So the tyres that go on your car.
T-Y-R-E?
Well, the whole argument is huge. So we had a video we posted on our Facebook page, 82 million views, and it was all over arguing about how to spell tyre.
So I was looking at your bio. You and I are connected through LinkedIn, and we had chatted, and I said, you know what? I would love to have the perspective of an Australian journalist on the Truck Show podcast. And we usually have American journalists on talking about the car culture, the news of the day, things that are going on. So much is happening in Australia right now, whether it is Toyota deciding that the diesel V8 is no longer going to be offered in the 70 series, or if it's Ram trucks and Super Duties getting imported down there and converted over to right-hand drive because you guys have a love for our big full-size American trucks. I want to hear all about that from your perspective.
All right. Well, the first thing to do is a little bit of definition, some defining. We have a thing here that's highly popular. We call it a ute.
Yes.
Now, it's not a traditional Indian group. It's actually a pickup, what you guys refer to as a pickup or even a truck. Our utes, our pickups are a little bit smaller than yours generally, but the important thing to know, the culture here is so strong around these 4x4 pickups that the top 2 selling cars, not just 4-wheel drives or trucks, the top 2 selling cars in Australia are the Toyota Hilux and the Ford Ranger, 4x4 pickups. They're the top selling vehicles, and they fight for the top place tooth and nail. They've been doing that for the last few years now. Toyota typically comes out on top, but the Ford Ranger has absolutely got them running right on their heels and has taken the top spot for a few months over the last few years. So the culture here is really around outdoor adventure and the crossover between using pickups for work during the week and then using those for recreation on the weekends. So we have a massive culture, whether it's 4-wheel driving, camping, fishing, hunting, motorbike riding, of having that work vehicle during the week that can still have that dual cab facility so you can fit the family and the kids in the back seat, and then can still get out on a bit of adventure for the weekends. So the off-roading motorsport culture here is it's insane. People don't understand how our market is so big given the small size of population that we have in comparison to you guys. But geographically, Australia is the same size as America, but we've only got 26 million people here. So we have a huge amount of remote outback areas, no civil war, not a lot of serial murderers. We have a few, but not so many. So
he's just taking pot shots to America left and right. And by the way,
he's not wrong.
By the way, Simon, LA County has 14 million. Just the greater Los Angeles County,
where we are.
It's insane.
Yeah, amazing.
Double that for his whole country.
Yeah, which is why overlanding and exploration and adventure is so huge in Australia. I mean, you think of all, obviously I've got OVR magazine, and overlanding has been something that has taken off maybe in the last 20 years in the U.S. In fact, I built an ARB-equipped 4Runner, 5th-gen 4Runner when they first came out for Toyota's booth at the 2010 SEMA show. And it's
Wow.
funny, all these 4Runner guys are like, oh, I put a 10 on my 4Runner. I'm like, I did that 20 years ago. You're not first to it, right?
Right.
But back then, it was, I like to joke, we call it car camping. If you ever went in the station wagon with your grandpa down your favorite fishing hole, you went off-road a little ways, and you pulled out your Coleman Cool, you went overlanding. And at some point, overlanding went from being a verb, I'm overlanding, to a noun. I'm an overlander, right? You overlander, whatever. And so it's funny because people think it's this exclusive thing, but it's not. But what's amazing is South Africa and Australia had such a robust culture for what I would call self-sufficient, vehicle-based exploration that all of the initial products that started this craze in the U.S. came from you guys. Light Force, ARB. I'm a huge fan of Red Arc. I use Red Arc in my stuff. Rhino Rack. I mean, you just go down the list of all these great
I think
Australian
the difference,
companies.
the difference is that Australian men are real men. Like, we're a bunch of pusses over here. I mean, Australians, they drink real beer. They got real women over there, and they do real stuff off road. And we're just like, everything is light. We have widow wadders on the back of our little Tacoma. I don't know. It's kind of a parody of itself over here now. I mean, there are real people that do real things, but it's not like a lot of posers. There's a lot of posers over here, that's for sure.
Listen, guys, I really wasn't intending to take any pot shots at you guys with my comments, but now you guys are having a crack at yourselves.
Yes, we do that.
That's good to hear.
We're self-deprecating over here.
You've also got to understand, whilst Australia is totally a very safe place to travel, we have got a collection of the worst things in the world that will try and kill you. Snakes, spiders, jellyfish, crocodiles, sharks. These are real things over here that we've got to deal with. Now, it's not as bad as people think, but it's definitely something you've got to consider if you're going to come and set a bare foot into the bush, the wilds over here.
Well, you've also got some interesting laws. So here, they're just, depending on what state you live on, and of course...
Are you talking about their lift laws over
well,
there?
I'm getting that.
All
So here, we got 50 states, and they all have different laws, but I think there's like bumper height, things like that. But you can get a pretty damn big truck here. You can roll on 42-inch tires, and it's all legal. It's not the case down in Australia, where you guys have to have roll bars. You've got to have you can't go over certain tires. The headlights can't be over a certain height off the ground.
Why don't you let Simon explain that for us?
I'm going to ask him what the laws actually are.
It's insane what we deal with here. It's absolute. It's just a mental state that we have to deal with. So what happened a few years ago is the powers to be, the Brains Trust, brought in a law. Are you guys familiar with an automotive term from Australia called hoon and
Yes.
hooning? So for any of the listeners who don't know, hooning is all about burnouts, running wild, speeding, breaking the law, running red lights. It's doing stuff that's a little bit of fun, but it can also be maybe pushing the boundaries of the law a little bit. The powers to be brought in a law that was unaffectionately termed hooning laws. And the whole idea was to target lowered vehicles that were lowered, possibly for some reason that made them a little bit dangerous on the streets, etc. And the people who were using those lowered vehicles for street racing and those types of things. The problem was that the way they worded the laws was it said a change in suspension of X amount. What that carried over to was that it also covered four-wheel drive lifts, because a change in suspension of X amount covered not just lowering a vehicle but raising it. So four-wheel drivers came under target, and people who were in their 60s and 70s who'd retired, they'd hooked up a caravan on the back of their vehicle, they'd had a mild lift and a larger set of tyres fitted, and they were going touring in a gentlemanly fashion around the country, which is hugely popular here, were being booked for these hooning laws because their vehicle inadvertently ended up being raised a few millimetres higher than the legal limit. So we've been facing that for many years here now, trying to get some solidarity, some equality between the states, because the states enforce it in different ways, trying to get some standards met, but also trying to get some engineering around the opportunity of how we can lift vehicles higher than 75 millimetres, so 3 inches, whether it's suspension lift, a body lift, and what you get out of tyres. 3 inches is the maximum lift without a specific engineer certificate here. You've also then got limits on the tyre size. So for us to get a 37-inch tyre legal on the roads, we have to go through a huge amount of specific testing, engineering, expense and sign-off, and most engineers actually won't just do it. So we've got a friend who's got a little Suzuki. His engineer has turned around and said the largest tyre I will engineer on that vehicle, even though he's upgraded the differentials. He's upgraded the brakes to basically the strength of what a Hilux has. He's only allowed to have 31-inch tyres on his Suzuki.
Boo.
So exactly right. So it's very frustrating. It's very difficult, but it does limit hugely what we do. And getting back to what you guys were talking about, that huge culture we've got around the utilities, the pickups, and towing and going out into the wilds, overlanding, touring, etc. That really brings us to an interesting topic where Australia has a mad fascination with towing big, heavy caravans, hybrid campers, camper trailers, taking these huge loads off around Australia. And we're now seeing this mentality get a little bit out of control where people are they're putting a boat on the roof of the vehicle. They're putting a caravan on the back. They're trying to fit a side-by-side, a motorbike, and a quad bike somewhere as well.
Sounds like a SEMA display, doesn't it?
Yeah, but hold on a second. But Simon, that's been going on in the U.S. for forever and ever. I remember, so Weekend Warrior was a company out of Paris, California, Perris, Paris. They were making like 40 to 45-foot fifth-wheel trailers, triple axle trailers that would go on the back of their, and they were saying that they would weigh like, I don't know, 25,000 pounds. They got sued into oblivion because they were like over by 5,000 or 6,000 pounds, and they were breaking differentials. They were breaking all kinds of suspension.
This is like a travel trailer that had a garage in the back. So it's like the front half would be your living quarters, and the back would be the garage with the ramp, and you drive your vehicle. And they were overloading these things. It was like a small semi-trailer for us going down the road, which is hilarious.
Well, I mean, a normal like Featherlight or a big rig would be 50 foot, right? Something like that. And so these are almost
like a semi-trailer. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah. But like potentially just as much weight. It's crazy. We've been doing that forever.
I've seen pictures. Well, I think we're all about excess, even when it comes to overloading, way past gross vehicle weight rating here. I've got a Wrangler 392 all set up for overlanding, and it weighs almost 7,000 pounds when I'm fully equipped for when I go. But it has a V8 in it, so that's good.
It doesn't really make up for the
axles and the brakes. I do have the right
doesn't.
Suspension on it, all that stuff. But
Simon, you've got companies making these amazing trailers. Like we are now importing some of these trailers, and we see them at SEMA Off-Road Expo and things like that.
Patriot is one of those. They make a fantastic trailer. I personally don't like towing anything off-road because for me it's misery. I'd rather have it all on my back, because here in the States you have to slow down. You have to go, like in California, we can't go over 55 miles an hour, which is just under like 90 kilometers an hour or something like that when we have a trailer. When we don't have a trailer, we can be going 75, 80 miles an hour. So trying to get anywhere with the trailer is miserable. And then out in the Mojave Desert, which is one of the most harshest environments in the world. I think it's in the top 7 harshest environments in our backyard, 2 hours away. There's all sorts of boulders and washouts and different kind of terrain. It's crazy. I hate towing a trailer up and down through ravines and washes and all that.
And God forbid you got to back up.
Now, I'll tell you, I've done it with a Patriot. And it's like the X3 is a fantastic trailer. The suspension, the way the hitch articulates, love everything about it. Still doesn't push me over the edge. There's other manufacturers like Kimberly and some others that we have here in the States. And I'm always impressed with the amount of engineering that goes into Australian products. I mean, it's fantastic. You guys have a lot of great problem solvers down there that really, are equal to the things we need up in the States.
Our industry here is huge. It's innovative. It's absolutely on fire, and it has been so for decades, which is one of the reasons why we are one of the countries leading the world in overlanding, which you guys mentioned earlier. But that whole point of overloading these vehicles brings us almost full circle, because the problem is that whilst we're doing it with fantastic trailers and things we've got down here in Australia, we've got much smaller vehicles than what you guys have got. So these little pickups are being grossly overloaded. There's a huge issue with chassis cracking and them bending and snapping in the middle.
Oops.
And that leads us to a bit of a fascination, a fairly strong interest we've now got with American vehicles, GMC, Silverado, Ram, etc., who are being sold in good numbers down here in Australia. So people actually want a rig that's got a decent engine, that's got a much better towing capacity, and is far more capable of towing these heavier loads. So for us, while you guys are still overloading them in the US, for us stepping up to the American trucks is one of the ways that people are solving the problem of how and what they can tow here.
Simon, it's just a matter of time before you have mission creep and you're just like us, and then you're going to need bigger trucks.
Well, that's already here. So I myself run an Iveco daily.
Oh,
which
wow.
is basically it's a mini truck. It's the smallest truck that Iveco make, and that is a incredible vehicle. It's actually street legal on 37s, which is a big deal here in Australia. It's got triple diff locks, so a center diff lock, front and rear diff locks from factory. It's got a twin stick transfer case with a 100-to-1 crawl ratio, and that with a payload of 5,500 kilos, and the new model is over 7,000 kilograms. That is a serious vehicle. So the Isuzus, the Hinos, we're seeing a whole range of trucks down here, which is now being secondary follow-on from after the craze with American trucks. We're sort of seeing it parallel now at the moment, with people going into actual trucks for towing and overlanding, or they're going into the big towing rigs, or they're still overloading the mid-sized pickups that we've got.
What are you seeing as being the most popular imported full-size? Is it GM, Ford, Ram? Are you seeing Super Duties? Are you seeing 2500s? Are you seeing...
And is it gas or diesel?
Gas or diesel. And are you seeing dualies, like dual rear wheel?
Yeah, look, there's not a lot of dualies here. We see a few, but it's definitely not popular. They're used for a few of the show builds and demo trucks and things like that, but we're not seeing them on the road so much. The F trucks are starting to make a bit of a resurgence. They were big here back in the 70s, the 80s. They fell away for a while. They're now back and starting to make a little bit more of a push. Ram would be definitely one of the top ones that's doing well here, and that's just been brought in good numbers and been converted over to right-hand drive for us. So definitely I think Ram is one of the more popular ones.
How does that work for the conversions that are coming over? Like, take me through that just briefly. Does it arrive fully Americanized and then you have to rip the dash out and such?
There's two popular ways that it's happening. So the easy and expensive way is that a company here in Australia, and there are a number of them doing it, will bring in numbers of the vehicles, convert them across, and then get them into dealerships. So that's done locally in Australia. There are, though, a number of companies who are doing it offshore. There's Auto Group International, which is working out of Sri Lanka. They've just sent the Lincolns across, so like a luxury SUV
like
type.
A Navigator?
Seven-seater. The Navigator, that's the one, the Lincoln Navigator, yes. And also they've just converted a stack of the Hummer EVs, which I can't wait to see and hopefully get a test drive of, because those things are like got some crazy 0 to 60.
Oh, they're amazing.
Lots to freedom.
I've driven in it, and it's mind-blowing. In fact, during development, they had to tone down the motors because they were doing roosts of dirt like out the back, like a racing boat.
I thought they were doing wheel stands.
And, and then they were wheel stands, front ends were lifting.
Yeah, they were hooning. Yeah, literally.
Yeah, straight from the manufacturer. Now, when you say dealer, there's no Ram dealers down there, right? So what's the dealer, and who do people buy these from?
Oh, look, I'm not in the market for a Ram, so I'm not familiar with it, but I think the same guys at Tico is one of the companies that's distributing a lot of vehicles. So they've got LDV and a range of Chinese cars, but they're also doing the Rams and a range of products, accessories for them as well through Upfitter, which is bringing in some gear from the USA.
Do you guys have an influx of Chinese vehicles? We do everything we can to keep them out of here, and it's a big point of national pride to not have them. But obviously, your neck of the woods, I can imagine that there's probably a fairly good import-export business with China.
Yeah, look, we've got fairly good relationships with China and probably a closer working understanding with the Chinese. You know, you've got a whole range of things with the big bad CCP right through to they're just normal human beings working in factories doing normal things like we do. They're struggling to get by. So there are multiple facets to that, and I don't want to get into the politics of it all. But just to give you an idea of what's happening here in Australia, there is a vehicle out on the market at the moment which is selling like hotcakes. It's crazy inexpensive. The quality of the build, the performance, the capability, the features of the vehicle are mind-blowing. For this year alone, they've sold, which aren't big numbers for you guys, but it's big numbers for Australia, and I'll wind it back to give you a direct comparison. They've sold 2,000 of those vehicles already this year. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot of vehicles, but when we flip that over and look at how many Jeep Wranglers have been sold for the exact same period, that's 362.
Wow.
Okay.
So 362 Wranglers versus this other Chinese vehicle at 2,000 units, it's 30,000 Australian dollars less and you're getting a vehicle that it's IFS front, but it's front and rear diff locks. It's beautifully appointed. It's well built, and everybody who drives one, people love to hate on Chinese vehicles and Chinese-made stuff, and I 100% understand why. But anybody who sits in this vehicle and then drives it goes, oh, my God, it's decent. It's good.
Yeah.
And we can see why they're doing so well.
What is it?
It's a GWM Tank 300.
GWM as in Mary Tank 300?
Tank 300. So in China, they've been out for coming up to 4 years. They've got a Tank 300, a 400, a 500, a 700, and I think an 800. The stuff that is being done with these vehicles in China is just insane. The places they are taking them, the way they are abusing them, they're racing them, they're doing all sorts of mad stuff.
Oh, it's not even ugly. It actually looks pretty cool.
You got it up on your
computer?
They're
actually not bad. And like I said, when you drive it, it's an incredible experience. I'm not trying to be pro one brand or one country, but that Tank 300 is actually going to have a bigger impact on the global overlanding scene than any other vehicle in the past 10 years.
It almost looks like
it's a big Jeep Liberty.
I was going to say it's a four-door Suzuki Jimny, but bigger, with a little bit of like a Bronco vibe in the front end. I mean, it's not
100%.
Not bad looking. Like, I think we have our forbidden fruit over here in the U.S., and one of those is the Suzuki Jimny. Ever since the Samurai left our shores and the Sidekick after that, the enthusiast market has clamored. If Suzuki ever got their stuff together and came back to the U.S. market and they launched with Jimny, it would be a runaway success here. People miss having a true mini vehicle, but this thing it's not, I mean, honestly,
I could see that on the 405 freeway.
I could see the appeal to it.
Yeah.
We've got one set up here we've got a couple set up here in Australia, but we've got mates that we're working with. One's running one with 39-inch tires on it.
Oh, wow.
And another guy is running portal axles with 37s.
The interior is awesome. It almost looks like a Mercedes.
Yeah.
They're beautiful inside. This vehicle has led a huge campaign in China where we're now seeing thousands and thousands of these vehicles sold in China. So a lot of people get products manufactured for the off-road industry worldwide. This is actually now the first time where there is a real four-wheel drive community in China. So we're going to see actually some really big changes in the industry over the next 10 years off the fact that China now has its own real, well-established and hugely popular off-road industry and off-road community.
I just don't hate it. We've got a TV here in the podcast studio, and so I've got it up on the screen there, and I'm looking at it and I'm going, that might be the first Chinese vehicle I haven't had some sort of horrible visceral reaction to other than that thing's pretty cool.
If you did not know it was Chinese, you would argue with someone and say it's an American build. They've
European.
Stolen all
It kind of looks European, like Italian to me.
Does it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's cool though.
It's also very important to know that apart from how the headlights look, it was actually released before Bronco.
Okay, all right. So the Bronco looks like the Tank 300 is what I'm hearing.
Correct, yeah. So yeah, it really is. And you're spot on with your comments about the Suzuki Jimny because it's for the people who wanted something small, agile and simple that was affordable to get into. And so it's somebody who wants something that's a little bit bigger than the Jimny, but doesn't want to go up and do hardcore wheeling like somebody who'd get into a Jeep.
Yeah.
But we're seeing a huge market share being shifted from people who would buy Jeep to get around in the city to people who are buying this vehicle.
What's the price point of this? Do you know?
We're talking 52,000 Australian dollars for a vehicle that's fully featured. It's got all the latest safety electronics and front and rear locking differentials.
And I think that's what, like high 30s American, something like that?
Correct.
Yeah. I mean, that's really well equipped. It's not bad looking. And if it has any sort of decent payload on it, I could definitely see why that's popular. It's very cool.
And that's the problem. It's got an absolutely terrible towing and payload capacity. Absolutely shocking. Yeah, sorry. It's why the people who were looking at a Suzuki Jimny are going, well, this is a little bit bigger. It's still got the same payload and towing capacity, but at least it's a little bit bigger.
Is it because they went with such soft suspension?
Look, the suspension is so bad, and this will terrify you guys. Early testing by journalists when that vehicle first came to Australia showed that on a hard-form bitumen blacktop road, if you absolutely jammed the brakes on as hard as you could at speed, the rear wheels left the ground for a moment.
I won't say which vehicle it was, but I do remember testing a certain 4x4 SUV sometime in the late 2000s.
What was the name of it?
I'm not going to say.
Uh-huh.
And
What badge was on the nose?
I believe that I wrote in my story that it was the first vehicle that I had ever driven that exhibited wallow and ride harshness all at the same time. And it was one of those things where it wallowed as you went down the road, and then you'd hit an expansion joint and you'd feel it through your teeth. And I later talked to an executive at said company who had moved over from somewhere else, and he was asking me, like, what do you think of our product lineup? And I said, well, yeah, it's pretty good. But there's this one, and he looks at me and goes, yeah, I drove one of those. Not our best work.
And that had what insignia on the center of the steering wheel?
Like I said, it's just a story for the ether. I'm just throwing it out in the universe.
Yeah, that problem has since been fixed with a little bit of aftermarket suspension and not too much thought. Just the coil rate in the front end was too soft.
Which we love the aftermarket here. We have SEMA, which is, I think, pretty unique in the world. I don't know that other countries have this huge trade organization that protects our rights to accessorize our vehicles the way SEMA does. And a lot of Australian companies come here and promote it. I think they see America as a massive market, and we've seen more lately. In fact, a company that I was recently introduced to maybe about a year ago, Kakadu. I've been using some of their products, which I've become really fond of. There's a lot of neat stuff, and they've got this stove that is shaped like a bowling ball, and it's a wood stove for cooking and things like that. And all the pictures are of it on a beach, right? And there's water washing it up, and there's this potbelly stove sitting there that you would carry in your vehicle. And I'm like, if I was going to stay in the same place for a week, that's what I would take with me. But I'm on the road, on the go, and new campsite every night typically, and I'm like, I can't imagine having a giant stove with a chimney and all that. Where would I put it in my Jeep? So that's why I need a trailer.
Yeah, big ass heavy trailer. Exactly.
You guys have all the toys down there, that's for sure.
But we've got plenty of toys. But SEMA is a crazy experience. They fly me in every year as a trade consultant and a global media judge. So I'm excitedly looking forward to. I think it's going to be my 9th SEMA this year.
Awesome. We would love to catch up with you if our paths cross while we're there.
Well, why don't we have them come by EGR or something like that?
Yeah. Oh,
I mean, hell, they are an Australian company.
I'm sure you're familiar with EGR. They're friends of ours, and they support the podcast. And we're going to be doing a show in their booth at SEMA. So we'd love to have you come by.
We'd love to.
Be awesome.
Definitely.
Yeah, we'd love to have you. Hey, I wanted to ask about engineering. Obviously, America, U.S. is full of wonderful engineers, but it seems that in the off-roading space, we're often talking about Australian engineers. Like, you've got sports cars, and it seems the Germans own the sports car thing. Of course, there are other sports cars coming out of other parts of the world, but the engines, it's just spectacular. But Australia's right there. Most people aren't saying, like, boy, those American sports cars. Yes, we know we got the new Corvette coming. And things like that. There's some impressive vehicles, but really it's the Germans and the Australians. Why? Like what?
Well, in fact, remember the new Ford Ranger that started over here and is our mid-size
Australian.
Truck. It was engineered by the Australians for our market.
I'm just wondering culturally,
where does the engineering come from?
Yeah, where does it come from? Is it schooling? Is it cool?
Necessity?
Well, for example, right, you've been hearing probably, Simon, and we've talked about a lot on the show, is that trade schools are kind of dying off and auto shop classes are dying off in early middle school, high school. And so working with your hands is a dying art. Most of the young people think they need to go into .com, right? Into the tech sector, high tech, electronics, or I should say software, firmware, mobile app development, things like that. But they're not going into like, how do I design a car? Boy, it's my dream to come up with the world's best carbon brake system. But the Australians are doing that. How and why?
All right, so you've raised some really good points. The first thing to keep in mind is that, sure, there's a lot of innovation here. There's a lot of smart people and a lot of necessity for new products and innovation, but we're a very small population. So we see a lot of failure in the innovative space not because the product's not good, but because we don't have the market to support it. So we are hugely limited in capacity to financially support a lot of the innovation that we have down here. The second point you raised is we're in the exact same boat. Kids are not going to trade schools. Kids don't want to get their hands dirty. They don't want to be working with metal, wood, whatever it might be. They're looking for the easy answer, which is playing on their telephone. So 100% we're in the same boat. What we see down here in Australia, though, is we're isolated. We're a big country. We've got a passion and an interest in travelling, touring and roaming around this big country. And a lot of the innovation comes from frustration with people not being able to get the product or not being able to import it at a price point that works for them. So they just go and design something that's as good, if not better, or they go and solve their problem with an innovative solution, and then they just work mindlessly to get that manufactured and to make it work. So that's where it comes from. It just comes from our sheer isolation and our desperation to want to solve problems.
I didn't think about that. I mean, that answers it.
When you think about it, with a small population, but a big land mass, you could think you have to be able to have some sort of self-sufficiency outside of the city, right? Not even talking about like automotive aftermarket or that kind of high-level engineering that's going to manufacturing, but just the very basic things of fixing something on your farm or your ranch or your mine or whatever. You probably don't have a robust industrial base where you're going to go out and buy it and it's going to be delivered in a few days or something. I would imagine that it's, again, necessity is the mother of invention. And I would imagine there's a lot of necessity, especially in the outback.
I mean, I wonder if you guys have like your version of McMaster Car. In fabrication, we have McMaster Car. 2 words with a hyphen together. And that is a company that you can order any nut and bolt or any fastener, anything you'd need to fabricate. And they will get you anything you want the next day. And so you've got fabricators who are just like, I need a pulley, 3 pulleys, but one is missized and I need a misalignment here and a this and a that. And they have it. Do you have resources like that there? Or is that what forces the innovation because guys have to make their own?
We do not have those amazingly awesome resources. Thanks for rubbing it in. So back when I started getting into off-roading, and I'm talking about far out, close to 40 years ago, I could go down to a shop just on the edge of the CBD, the city centre of Melbourne, and they had a massive warehouse of nuts and bolts, and you could get almost any nut and bolt combination that you wanted. That type of thing is now long gone. We've now got to go out to a specialist supplier out in the suburbs, and they'll often have the basics, like the main things that you'll want, but if it's something specific, it might need to be ordered in. And you've got to go searching to find those shops, and they're not big retail outlets. You've got to go round into the car park and go to the dock and ring the bell at a special door to get somebody to come and serve you, and you've got to probably phone your order through before you get there. Those days for us are long gone, unfortunately.
I wonder why. Why did you had it for a minute and it faded away?
We're really struggling with local manufacturing. There are no actual domestic cars manufactured in Australia anymore. So with Ford and Holden being the 2 primary ones, with them gone, there are no cars being made here. So
and that's really within the last, 5-10 years or so? I mean, that's fairly new, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Quite recent, but it's disappointing. And they were receiving government handouts and support the whole way through to keep them afloat. But with the vehicles, most of the pickups that we have here are made in Thailand.
Mm.
We've got to keep pricing down. Even the Jeeps we get here, our Jeep Wrangler starts at around 83,000 Australian dollars.
Wow.
So even that's getting cost prohibitive. The price for Gladiator is up around 100,000. Mm-hmm. So the prices we pay for vehicles here is pretty crazy. So getting stuff here is expensive.
But we wonder though, Simon, is the salaries, are they in line, or are these vehicles now just for the wealthy? For example, like here, Governor Newsom raised the minimum wage for fast food workers up to like 20 something bucks an hour, right? You make more, but the vehicle or the thing you're trying to buy also goes up as a result of those higher wages. I'm wondering if the average person can afford those vehicles, or are they for the elite?
So we've got an interesting situation here in Australia, and again, I don't want to get too political, but let's just say the cost of staff, and I'm a business owner, the cost of staff is too high. The cost of running a business in Australia is too high, and the levies and taxes and the impacts, especially on small business, applied to us by the government is ridiculously excessive. So there are a whole range of factors that make manufacturing in Australia not impossible, but extremely difficult. And they are mainly financial pressures. And, yeah, wages in Australia are pretty decent.
Definitely sounds like
People here get
California.
paid.
He said the wages are decent, though.
Well, that's what I'm saying is that's manufacturing. California used to be all manufacturing. We built planes and cars and bombers and ships and everything. Almost none of that is here anymore, and the wages have gone up. So if you get a job, you get paid decently.
Yeah, but we have SpaceX and Tesla.
Not anymore. They're going to Texas.
I know, that's why I brought it up.
Yep. So we like to shoot ourselves on our own foot.
Wait. What do you guys think of Mr. Elon Musk? I got to know.
Oh, look, there's varying opinions in it, and it's very personal down here. I'm going to put it down to, and you may or may not like this, but I'm going to equate it to Trump. There are people who love him and people who hate him, but in my humble opinion, I believe that the world needs some crazy people who are left of centre and who are out there to have a crack at things that other people see as being too difficult and too hard, and who will open doors, make opportunities, and solve problems that other people aren't going to.
I think in other words, we need some crazy people to break the status quo up, and I'm okay with that.
I mean, I was talking to Gamble, one of the guys who I work with, and he worked at Rocketdyne, and they launch rockets. That's what they did. And he's like, if we could launch a couple per year, a couple of these rockets with satellites into the Earth, that was a big deal. A couple, meaning like less than 5. And here's SpaceX doing like 5 a week. And then
on multiple coasts,
and then landing them on a barge.
So I grew up
in the middle of the ocean.
I grew up with a bunch of Boeing and McDonnell Douglas engineers who were part of Delta and the rockets and all that. And I remember, I worked at Boeing for a spell, and I remember people saying Elon was crazy because you could never reuse a rocket by landing it on a barge in the ocean. Well, here we are, right? So I love that the guy does the things that people say it's a challenge to him.
So I want to use that as a segue, Simon, to get into electrification, because you brought up that you're getting some Hummer EVs down there. That's going to be a big deal. What's the Tesla scene down there? Are there any Cybertrucks? Are you feeling about Rivian?
I was going to say the other thing is, with you guys having such an adventure as part of your lifestyle and your DNA down there, the big hit for us on electric vehicles outside of California is the infrastructure, but inside California is just range. I mean, Rivian's done a great job of making a great vehicle, but while it's off-road capable and has decent range, as far out as you want to go, you may not be able to get back. Do you guys have some of the same infrastructure issues down there?
Yeah, look, it's definitely charging for us. We've got a massive amount of land that's just uninhabited, and putting charging stations out there is just, it's not going to happen. And there's plenty of memes going around in Australia where there is a remote EV charging station with a massive diesel generator behind it running it.
Yes. We have those too.
We have those memes here in the U.S. It happens.
Oh, we've got the Prius with on the hitch in the back. It's got a Honda generator. Yeah.
The big issue with EVs for us is not so much the range. It's not so much the technology. It's a split for me. I'm looking at it, and the the watts available on command instantly is exciting for an automotive enthusiast.
Oh, for sure.
The loss of cubic inches and the sound and rumble of a big gasoline V8 is something I never want to lose. I can see both positives of it. I think the real positive, and what I'd like to speak about here, especially in Australia, it's not about the technology, it's not about the limitations of charging or the limitations of the vehicle itself. All those problems will be solved in time. The problem that we've got here is that there is a massive political agenda that they want to see X amount of electric vehicles in our lives, in our country, by a certain date.
Mandates.
We don't have the infrastructure. We don't have the infrastructure. We don't have the charging capacity. We don't have the electrical ability to cope with that many vehicles. And it's all spirited by these left-wing, green, wannabe tree-hugging do-gooders.
I want to hear from him.
We're in the same boat.
I know. Let him finish. Hold on a second.
Who are sipping their lattes in cities and have no understanding of people who are passionate about automotive or actually people who go outside the cities to do things. They are pushing their agenda. They are being heard, and they are driving this change, which realistically, when you look at the carbon footprint of what it takes to make an EV car, especially the battery, and the lifespan of that battery itself, how regularly or how many years it needs to be replaced, the carbon footprint of a carbon-based diesel gasoline vehicle isn't so bad in comparison. And the follow-up to that is the ethical aspect of the way that these batteries are manufactured. And it's a really important issue too, because who's manufacturing or who's mining most of the ingredients to make these batteries? The Chinese. So it's like the ethical dilemma for these cafe latte, green, thriving, city-dwelling people who want to save the environment. And let's really be factual about it. What is the percentage of CO2 in the atmosphere? I think it's 0.04%. And if it gets below a certain level, everything on Earth dies. So how much CO2 do you want to take out of the environment? Because it's not at a threatening position. Global change, warming, ice caps melting, ice ages, this is just a natural cycle of the Earth. And let's get the facts right. If the world was sinking and we're all going to be flooded and washed away by these melting ice caps, why would the banks be lending millions and millions and millions of dollars to people who are buying beachside properties? Because the banks know their investment is safe. They're not going to lose the beachside properties. It's just a natural cycle. And this global warming is just an insane push following on from acid rain, from all the other things we've had for many, many decades now to frighten and scaremonger us into paying more taxes or putting more money into the environment or doing things that the government wants to achieve. So my standpoint on this is pretty clear, that it's an agenda. It's unnecessary.
Are you sure you're not an American, Simon?
Oh, hold on a second. Simon, Holman is putting lipstick on so he can kiss you right now.
Are you sure we're not brothers from another mother?
Look, realistically, we see, I'm not surprised that you guys are on the same boat. It's an agenda that we're facing right around the world. It's a whole push that people who go forward driving, people who go hunting, people who live off the land, people who understand life and death and the reality of the meat we eat. For one example, we're like just in absolute shock and horror of the agenda of these people and what they're doing to save the planet. They are the most anti-environment, culture-killing, planet-devastating people you could ever meet. And they think 100% their hearts believe they're saving the planet. And they're not. They are screwing us all over.
You are so correct.
Industry has always guided the future in not laws, right? You can't legislate trends. You can't legislate the people's will, right? For example, if the U.S. decides that it likes something and it's profitable, it will go that direction. If companies can make money at something, right? They will. And so what I'm saying is eventually the range will get there if there is money to be made in selling electric vehicles, right? Or selling energy or whatever. Like, it'll find its way. But to keep mandating and legislating things, it's just going to piss people off.
100%. And you're right. The technology's not there yet. And the whole agenda behind it is false, misguided, and unethical, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think you have to look at the full picture. I think too many people are legislating technology without knowing what actually goes into it, right? Like, they're saying you have to do X. Well, X hasn't been invented yet, or it's not possible under today's technology to get to X quite yet. So in California, we need more power plants. So they're trying to put solar on everybody's houses. And there was a standard NEM 2.0 net metering that paid you like a 1-for-1 for what you'd put back in the grid. Well, now that they want all these solar panels because they need people to have, cars, they want to meet the EV mandate. They want you to be able to charge at home and have batteries. Now, the new system pays you 25 cents on the dollar for what you give back to the grid because the utilities can't possibly go out of business by all of these, solar panels. So it's a machine that eats itself sometimes, and it's frustrating. And again, I don't hate it, but I don't want somebody to tell me what my needs are. I think I should be able to decide what my needs are.
It's interesting, like, if you have a drug problem, you usually think it's just you. If you're an alcoholic, you think, no one understands me, it's just me, right? I have a disease. I have a weird wart on my forehead. It's just me. No one gets it. But I feel like this is an exclusively American issue, right? The EV promotion. And here he is. You guys can't see him like we can. Here's Simon shaking his head, right?
No, you look at all the car manufacturers around the globe, and they're all trying to jump into the same thing. And we have finite supplies of certain rare earth minerals and metals, and their strip mine. What about all the environmental damage from the strip mines and things like that? Because they're trying to keep up with it. It's too much too fast.
Being a journalist, Simon, what are you feeling? What does your gut tell you about the Toyotas of the world, where Mr. Toyota was pacing himself? He was very rolling this out slowly. They were the first with the Prius to huge success, but also he's like, I'm not going to jump in with both feet until he's moved out of the throne, so to speak.
We've seen a lot of manufacturers pop up out of nowhere and come into the EV space as a new manufacturer. So there's definitely a good flood there. We're seeing a very moderate handover, and we're seeing some manufacturers actually refuse to get involved and refuse to do it. So I think you've got to stay in the market, and that's what Toyota's doing. I'd love to see a lot more pushback from manufacturers. I'd definitely like to see that personally, but you've got to give the market the direction it's going. And like you said, there's that need, there's that trend there, there's that opportunity. An electric car around town is very hard to beat. Very hard to beat. I don't know enough about the specifics of the long-term plans of Toyota to really comment on it, but I'd like to think that they're going to stay with the gasoline diesel options as long as we possibly can.
I figured, Holman, that he was just going to poke fun at us dumb Americans for pushing the EV
we're
thing.
brothers.
And yet here they are with the identical problems.
Now, have you heard of the Toyota 1:690 ratio before, Simon?
No.
So Toyota came up with this thing, and it's actually kind of interesting. So basically, they call it the 1:690 rule, and it suggests that you can have the materials for one battery electric vehicle, or you could have 6 plug-in hybrids or 90 non-plug-in hybrids. And their point was, in this world of finite resources, why are we spending all the money making these massive EV and giant battery packs when we could pair them with hybrids, and we can make those minerals and those components and ingredients to make a battery last longer, because you could get 1 for 6 or even 1 for 90 depending on the vehicle you build. And you start looking at that, and I feel like hybrids make a lot more sense as a transition while we figure the rest of the stuff out.
You are 100% hitting the nail on the head. So again, going back to one of these Chinese vehicles, we spoke earlier about the Tank 300. We got to drive a Tank 500 not that long ago, and that takes the interior and luxury to a whole new level, way above the Tank 300. But it was a hybrid, and everybody who drove it was blown away by the performance we were getting out of that 176 kilowatt additional electric engine. And the convenient side of it was that it was regenerative. So as you braked, it was putting power back into the battery, but also as you drove it on petrol, on gasoline, it was charging the battery as well. So for a 5-day trip, we didn't have to plug it in and charge it anywhere.
Yeah.
It had battery capacity the whole time. So it was a perfect balance. It made absolute stonking use of the available power from the electric motor. It was awesome to drive, but you had the reliability, the confidence, and the simplicity that it was still a basic petrol motor.
The Take 500 kind of looks like a Prado or a Lexus GX for those of us over here.
Correct.
It's kind of the vibe of it.
100%.
Yeah. So if you're trying to imagine that when you're listening to the podcast. All right, I want to switch gears, and I want to find out. So Melbourne and Sydney are not too far from each other. Sydney's on the east coast of Australia. Melbourne's on the east-south kind of corner. If it's shaped like a boomerang, pun intended, it would be on the bottom of the tip of the boomerang on the right, basically, if you're looking at it, right?
I don't understand what you're saying.
But Perth, which is opposite of Sydney on the west coast, Darwin to the north, there are I've only been to Sydney. I need to get out to Australia. It's one of my places that I've missed 3 trips in my 25-year career as a journalist to go do an outback trip with where an Australian company said, hey, come. One of them, my first kid was being born. One of them I was going, and my boss decided last minute he thought it was a better trip for him. And then the other one I was already booked on. So I've missed.
You know what I'm hearing? Loser.
No. What you're hearing is Sean needs to go wheel in Australia again at some point.
Are you trying to talk him into touring you around the country?
Unlike you, I don't ask for free things on every episode.
I see.
No, so I'm curious as an American who I think most Americans probably most familiar with Sydney, maybe Melbourne. Where is the best? Because there's desert, there's tropical forest. Australia has it all. Where are the gems that an average American wouldn't know about that they should travel to if visiting Australia?
That's a really interesting question. So Melbourne, Sydney, and Brisbane, we class that as the east coast of Australia. Melbourne is 900 kilometres from Sydney and 1,800 kilometres from Brisbane. So that's travelling north. And we are about 3,500 kilometres from Perth, travelling from Melbourne to the west. Victoria, I'll start with Victoria. Victoria has, apart from driving into the ocean, in any direction where I live in Melbourne, within an hour, I can be at a waterfall on a blanket, sipping champagne and eating strawberries with my girlfriend, or I can have my vehicle on its roof. within an hour of the city centre. So we are surrounded by forests and tracks with great public access and places where we can go and do some wheeling. Within 3 hours, 2.5 hours to the east of Melbourne, we've got the Victorian High Country, which is the Alps of Switzerland. It's our big mountain range, and that's snow every year, not all year round, but snow during the winter months, and that has some amazing terrain, scenery, off-road challenge, campsites. It's a beautiful, iconic spot of Australia. To the west of our state, and again, only 3-4 hours in the opposite direction away from the high country, we've got desert, where you can get into red, sandy deserts and experience travelling through the desert. You've only got to go another 4, 5, 6 hours out of Melbourne, and you're in the outback. Red sands, goats, wild animals, camels, and sand dunes forever. Anywhere you go to in Australia, you're not far. It's not a far drive to get to some really decent, hardcore off-roading, some beautiful scenery. We've got opportunities and access out of most of the capital cities. Perth, you've got to travel a little further. Typically, you've got to put in 4 hours of driving to get to somewhere where you can go and have some nice scenic wheeling. But they've got access to beautiful beaches you can drive on. We've done trips where out of Melbourne, we've done 4,000 kilometres in 4 days to get to the opposite top left corner of Australia, and then shot 20 episodes in 18 days, and then done 4,000 kilometres in 4 days to get home.
Wow.
So we do a lot of travelling and doing kilometres and doing 1,000 kilometres a day for a driver here in Australia is no big deal. People do it every day.
And you're pulling a damn trailer.
And you're doing that, towing a trailer.
With a canoe on the roof.
Right.
Okay, question for you, because I was looking through some of your videos and some of the content you had online. You know us Americans, and I'll actually bring this up before we end with you, because I've got a list I want to run by you. But one of the things, our fascination with firearms here in the United States, and I saw you with a very, very nice rifle. All tactical out, all that looked great, and I'm thinking,
Well, what are the laws down there? Do they have?
Well, you can get guns in Australia, but you have to have a permit, and you have to show why you need the permit. So it's not like pervasive like here. So I would imagine a guy like you likes cars, self-sufficiency, eating meat. You probably might like guns too. What's that like being in Australia, and how do you get your fix?
It's good and it's bad. We have a pretty strong firearms industry down here in Australia. We've got a number of people manufacturing firearms, and there's a really strong culture for hunting and being outdoors. That pretty much goes under the blanket and is sort of kept away from the general population. And most people, if you mention at a dinner party that you're a hunter or you've got a gun, you will be scowled upon. People will have a crack at you, and you'll be judged. So you've got to be careful who you speak to down here, which is really sad. Putting that into perspective, though, we've got a small population. We've got over 1 million licensed firearm owners out of the 26 million people we've got here in Australia. And we've got about 4 million firearms that are legally owned by civilians. So it's still a relatively popular pastime. And we are starting to see a surge in popularity with the rate of new licenses increasing. Whilst that's happening, though, we've got the same woke agenda we're facing with EVs, with our access to the forest, with every aspect of life. They've just banned specific calibers in Western Australia that they deem are not fit for civilian ownership. So people who've had a decent collection have lost half their firearms. They're limiting the number of firearms that a civilian can own. It's slightly higher for if you have a farming property, but they're being limited as well. We're seeing a push for a registry on ammunition. So if you go in to purchase ammunition from a gun store, you always have to show your license, your firearms license. But now they're saying that they want to put in place a system where the seller, the retailer, has to log on to a system and register the ammunition as you purchase it against your firearms license.
We have to do that in California now. It's horrible.
Yeah, so it's getting pretty tight. But the situation we have is that it's pretty easy to get a firearms license, but you do have to have a license. All your firearms have to be legally registered. To get a firearms license, you have to have a reason to shoot, and that is really not a hard thing. It's pretty much saying we have places here called national parks. You're not allowed to shoot. We have places at the other end called state forest where it's legal to take your dog. It's legal to camp anywhere. It's legal to have an open fire as long as it's not a fire ban, and it's legal to shoot. So if you say I'm hunting feral animals in a state forest, that's all you have to put down on the form, and that's perfectly acceptable. So it's easy to get a license. That license will entitle you to what's called a Category A and B license, which covers shotguns, but no pump action shotguns. They've been banned here.
Oh, man. That's what protects my house. Well, one of the things.
I wonder why pump action. Like why?
And you hear somebody outside your door and you go, they leave real quick. Let me tell you.
I'll tell you the quick story in a minute. It covers shotgun, air rifle, and centerfire firearms and rimfire rifles. But all of those cannot be automatic or semi-automatic. They must be single action use. So you've got to either operate a bolt, you've got to operate a pump for the rifle, or a lever action, or now we have straight pulls. We even have button operated ones, which are spring loaded. You pull the trigger, press a button, it reloads, and you pull the trigger again.
Wow. There's always a way, isn't there?
There's a way. So we had a mass shooting down in Tasmania, and this has been covered many times, so I'll brush over it quickly. The response from the government was that a lot of people had died. We're going to ban semi-automatic firearms immediately. There's going to be an amnesty, and you've got to hand in all your semi-automatics. So I lost a number of very special guns. A lot of people handed in guns. It was a very heartbreaking time for shooters.
And you didn't get any money. You got no money in return, right? You just
there was some money in return, but it
pales in comparison to the loss of value of your guns. Yeah.
Correct. So it hurt shooters and hunters a lot. It really upset a lot of people, and it made the community feel a lot safer. But it had zero impact on the numbers of shootings. And
right, because the criminals still have their guns.
Correct. And look, I'll say outright that most Australian shooters are actually relatively happy with the licensing and the regulations. We've got to do 28 days permit to purchase if we want to buy a firearm. So you've got to put in a permit, and then you've got to wait a month, at least 28 days, before you get that permit back, which allows you to then go and purchase that firearm. I'm not unhappy with the way that the laws are, but it's the continual attack and the changes to the laws and the increasing difficulty that we're facing that I'm very much up against. So off the back of that amnesty to hand in all the firearms, the group that got together, the committee that decided what the changes to the laws would be, I know word for word what was said, and a lady stood up and said, we must ban the pump action shotgun because the visual action and the noise it makes instills fear into the victims.
Therefore, right it does.
Therefore, the pump action shotgun was banned.
That's insane. That's
correct. So
literally, I don't like the look of tennis rackets.
Ban them. I'm scared.
That's nuts.
So I own 4 pump action rifles, and they are perfectly legal. But a pump action shotgun is not allowed. And you raised a really good point about the appearance. You don't like the look of tennis rackets. We have laws in some of the states here in Australia that are appearance laws. So if your firearm appears, if it looks to be tactical,
Looks scary.
it's banned. It's banned. There's one state in Australia, Western Australia, where it's pretty much you can have a nice hunting rifle in timber. If you paint that rifle black, it's now tactical and illegal.
Becomes scary.
That's how dumb it is. So, yeah, I live in Victoria. We don't suffer from the same appearance laws as other states. So you've seen me with some fantastic rifles. Those rifles are actually Australian-made firearms.
A couple beauties in there.
They're legal to own, but they are what we call a straight pull, spring-assisted bolt action rifle. So I've got to pull the trigger, activate the slide, it'll open the breech, eject the shell, I'll let it go, a spring jams it shut, and I can shoot again. So it's basically the same as a pump action.
All right, Simon, I have created a list here, and I want you to, we'll go through. You don't have to jump, it doesn't have to be long or anything, but I found a few lists, and I put one together of things Australians think are weird about America. And then the reverse.
Wait, where did you get what?
And the reverse of that is ways America has bastardized Australia, and I want your comments. So the first things I'll say is...
Are there beer-related items in this?
Well, hold on. So first of all, I have to say that the first time I went to Australia, I thought to myself, man, I can't wait to get there and see what the food is. This is going to be great. I love going to another country. I get off the plane. I walk out of the gate into the mezzanine, and I'm confronted by KFC, Subway...
What, Burger King?
McDonald's,
Yeah.
and Burger King is Hungry Jack's.
Okay.
But it's the Burger King logo. So you sit there and you're going, wait a minute, this is all the same crap that we have at home. We have spread our fast food cancer to the rest of the world. So I'd like to apologize to you on behalf of America for doing that. And I also have a bone to pick because I've been told my whole life that when I flush the toilet in Australia, the water goes backwards.
Not true?
It goes straight down.
Oh.
I have flushed many a toilet in Australia, and every time it just goes straight down. There's no swirl. And I was fully expecting, as a kid, I was told all these years, you go to Australia, water swirls backwards. I had my phone out. I'm ready for it. No, straight down. So that was definitely a disappointment when I was visiting Australia.
I think so. You were in the wrong, the wrong Louvre.
Maybe. All right. So these are things online that told me that said things Australians find weird about Americans. And so the first thing was lack of public toilets. Have you experienced that when you've come here, Simon?
Maybe. I'm not sure. Normally when I'm there, I'm in Vegas, where there's plenty of hotels and casinos, and there's no problem with toilets.
Okay, well then pause there on that one, because I'm dying to know. I have a beef with like all of Los Angeles. If you are a tourist and you're passing from, say, San Diego up through Los Angeles and you're going north, there are no rest stops. There's one down by Oceanside.
Yep.
All of Los Angeles, which might take you over 2 hours to get through because of traffic, there is literally no place to stop on any of the freeways at all. You have to get out.
Get out and find a gas station.
You got to find a gas station, a Denny's, or some.
So maybe that's where this originated.
That's
from.
BS. Do you guys have rest stops along the highways?
Yeah, we have plenty of rest stops, and also the gas stations will have food and toilets as well. So you've got that covered. But yeah, there are rest stops along the way where you can stop regularly. You can park. You can stretch your legs. You can go to a toilet. There'll be bins there for your rubbish, etc. And they're off the highway in safe places.
Oh, we have ours right on the highway in unsafe places, and usually the trash hasn't been emptied in 3 or 4 weeks, right? All right, the next thing was, and we talked about it a little bit, was Australians find weird is Americans' fascination with guns.
Well, hang on a sec. Let's how about the first two? We're going through this list.
Okay.
First of all, I think you've got a problem with the fascination of the toilet. I'm not going to be sticking my camera or my head
That's true.
down
You're not
the
wrong.
toilet to watch the mess I've just done drop away. The second thing is your cancer spreading from America with fast food to Australia. I don't want you apologising for that. I want you to apologise for the fact that we don't have custard milkshake over here.
Oh, Freddy's. We have that at Freddy's. Oh, so good.
Yeah, we don't. We don't get that here.
Oh,
I'd love it.
that's special. Ooh, that's a good one.
But yeah, but that's not like a thing here, though. I mean, it is.
It is in different, not in California,
Not in
but
California.
it is in the Midwest.
Well, I
and stuff
guess
like that.
where do we go?
You're being California pompous
no,
right now.
You want what's the burger place that you and I fell in love with?
Culver's?
Culver's. They have the custard, right?
They have, I believe they do, and Freddy's is the closest one in California that has it.
Got it.
There's one in Barstow, and then there's a bunch on the.
Yeah,
on the
we're
way to Vegas.
accused
Okay.
of being California papas,
Which is probably true.
Often because we,
Our point of reference is here.
It's all here,
and we have an international audience, and they are like, guys, not everybody lives where you live, you a-holes. So, well, but we own it and we deal with it.
Hey, can I ask him a side question about? Do they have CCWs there, concealed weapon permits?
You can get it, but it's a lot harder to get. So it's very, very difficult, and you've got to have very specific reasons, or you've got to be employed as a policeman or a security officer. So it's possible, but it's a lot harder to get.
Got it. All right, Holman.
All right, next on the list of things Australians find weird about Americans. Things Australians find weird about Americans is adult fascination with Disney.
What about the gun one?
Oh, yeah, well, the gun one was just Americans' fascination with guns. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I own that. What do you guys think that's weird? Or do you think it's awesome when you come here and you go to Vegas and shoot a fully automatic machine gun for $50?
It's split. So a lot of the shooters think it's awesome. But like I said before, I'm really happy with the balance we've got. I think it does create difficulty for the average person to get their hands on a firearm and go and do something stupid. So our gun culture, and I don't want this to be seen as criticizing the US. We look up to you guys for so much, but we don't have a lot of mass shootings. We don't have any school shootings, and we don't have people shooting at our prime minister.
Well, you also have a really,
Touché.
really epically tough immigration policy, which ours has not happened in the last several, whatever you
He
want to say.
also doesn't share borders.
Well, that's the other thing. Yeah, you have to swim to
No
get
one's
there.
taking a rowboat over to Australia,
So the thing about the firearms, though, is I actually want to flip that back onto you guys, because we are under attack, and you guys are coming under attack for your firearms laws and firearms ownership. So what we do see, though, the difference between Australia and the US is we see a massive amount of ridicule and hate from the US, laughing at us, saying that we don't have firearms, that they can have semi-automatics, they can have automatics, they can have anything they want, basically, in a lot of states. So it's actually a lot of hate and ridicule aimed at us from the US. When I write back to these guys and say, listen, mate, have you seen what's happening in California and the laws and the changes there?
Yeah.
They're coming for your guns too. So how about we stay unified and we work together as people who love guns, whether we've got
100%.
a single action rifle or a semi-automatic. We should be working together and standing tall together. You shouldn't be, riding across the ocean and ridiculing us and laughing at us.
I agree.
So that for me was the difference in the firearms culture.
I think that's a great point, and I also think that you're right. We are under attack. Fortunately, we've got rights built into our Constitution, even though the other side likes to change the language to eliminate those
eroding.
rights. They are trying to do that. But no, that's a great point. And that's one of the reasons I wanted you to speak on it, because I think most people think you can't have guns there. And I was like, you can. So that's great stuff.
What's next on your list?
That would be the adult fascination with Disney.
Yeah, right. So you're probably going to hate me for this, but when you're talking about Disneyland, I like to refer to my visits to Disappoint Me Land. Long lines, dry turkey legs.
Yeah, very dry.
And rides that aren't that exciting. So huge commercialization. I'd rather be out in the desert shooting cactus with a gun any day.
He's one of us.
Yeah. All right. Next thing is Americans' fascination with hamburgers.
Hamburgers are good. We've got a huge fascination with burgers here in Australia that is absolutely taking off. There's a lot of viral videos about a thing called a smash burger.
Yes.
Where they throw the patty down.
Yep.
They're crushing
Caramelize it.
We are seeing American and Australian hamburger joints popping up all over the cities like crazy. Love it.
You guys have an amazing beef industry down there. There's a lot of good Australian cattle and beef in Australia.
We've got some big cows. We've got plenty of beef, and we love eating meat.
And last on this list of things Australians find weird about Americans before we go to the other side is our fascination with American football.
Yeah, look, it's pretty funny. You guys, put on helmets, you put on shoulder pads, you have all this protective gear, Our blokes run out in the field and smash each other with nothing except a groin guard and a mouth guard. What's wrong with you guys?
Well, lots.
I told you, we're wimps. And now, by the way, they're suing because they're getting concussions and they're getting brain damage later on.
Listen, the Australians they're just built different.
They're men. I'm telling you.
All right, I'm moving over to this other list, and this is things Americans have bastardized about Australia. And I would
Things Americans have bastardized about Australia.
Number one would be Outback Steakhouse.
Oh, that's embarrassing. That's freaking embarrassing.
We had Outback Steakhouse in Hong Kong a few months ago, and guys, it's nothing like none of the dishes. People go, we don't have this in Australia. We don't eat it like that.
There's no blooming onions there,
right?
No. All
right,
it was delicious.
The next thing is Foster's beer. Which my understanding is basically kangaroo piss to you guys.
Oh, Foster's has gone a little bit out of favour. Yeah, there's a lot of other beers that are drunk down here now, and there's a fairly, as you guys know, there's a strong beer drinking culture. But yeah, Foster's is long gone.
Americans trying to reappropriate koalas and dingoes.
Well, what do you mean trying to reappropriate? What are we doing with them?
Well, we
turning them into stuffed animals.
Yeah,
and stuff
stuffed
like that?
animals. We take them into our zoos and things like that, and then we I don't know. We just have this thing with koalas and dingoes, I guess.
Look, they make fantastic crossbow targets. I mean, the stuffed ones, not the real ones.
Sure.
No problem at all with that. It's great that you guys are celebrating some of our native species, although the dingoes were introduced by the indigenous people, so they're not really a true native, but they are legally classified as a native.
All right. Crocodile Dundee.
Oh, come on. Really? You got to go there?
That's not a knife.
Yeah, that's not a knife. That's a knife. Yeah, great. Okay. I had Vegemite. And I have to tell you, like, it's the thing about Vegemite
but
is...
we don't have Vegemite here. I mean,
you can get Vegemite
I know
here.
you can get it,
I
but,
know.
like, that's not a thing.
No, but what the thing is everybody hears about Vegemite. They actually don't know what it is or what it tastes like. And then they go to Australia, like, I've heard about Vegemite my whole life. I need some Vegemite. And then you go, whoa.
No, we don't.
No, we don't. So help us out here.
All right, Vegemite is definitely an acquired taste. We grew up with it, so we're used to it. It's an absolutely foul substance, but it's also delicious. I have a habit of spreading real salted butter and a thick slab layering of Vegemite on toast, and I love it. For most, it's too strong, but if you do Vegemite the right way, it's quite nice. So do it with butter and a very light, brisk brushing of Vegemite. It's quite nice.
And what is it made out of?
I don't know off the top of my head now, but it's some extract out of something that's a byproduct of something else, I'd say.
It's like brewer's yeast, and then it's got additives to it.
Isn't it funny how we expect poor Simon to be the expert on all things, speak for all Australians?
Well, I can tell you, as somebody who goes to gym, that Vegemite is 25% protein. So it's actually a good source of protein if you eat enough of it.
Okay, noted.
All right.
The other thing that I found out, this maybe doesn't quite fit in the list, you guys have a fascination with egg salad sandwiches down there, because I think whether I was in the airport or on an airplane, it was like everywhere I went, they tried to hand me an egg salad sandwich or an egg sandwich. Is like,
you sure that's just not a bad luck of the draw?
It might be. I don't know. I need to find out more.
Is that true or is that bogus?
Look, I don't know. We have a fascination with them, but they are very available.
Oh, there you go.
That was very diplomatic.
All right. Well, should we end on egg salad sandwiches?
I mean, we've only taken up 4 or 5 hours of his workday. I'm sure he has to go back. He has 3 TV shows, right? I mean, he's got to, he's got busy.
Bona fide celebrity on the horn here. Simon, where can people follow along your antics? Give me both personals, or if you're willing to share those, your Instagram, Facebook, and then 4-Wheel Drive TV. Where do we find you online?
So if you Google 4WD TV, you're going to find all of my platforms and myself. And then Simon Christie, either Simon Christie on its own or Simon Christie 4-Wheel Drive TV. You'll get me personally. But Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, you'll get us on all the normal platforms.
Awesome. I'm serious. I would love to hook up with you, maybe even have a beer in Vegas if there's time. And if you'd be willing, we'd love to have you come back on sometime.
Yeah, we'd love it, guys. Absolutely awesome. I've had an absolute ball. Thank you so much.
It's been quite a pleasure. Thank you.
The pleasure has definitely
Appreciate
been
the
ours.
time, guys.
It's been ours. Yeah, it's our pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for putting up with us.
Yeah.
A couple of jackasses.
No problem. Like-minded automotive enthusiasts, keep up the good work, guys. Love it.
All right.
Awesome.
We'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Simon.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
All right, bye. All right, Holman, it's news time. Live from the Truck Show Podcast News Desk, it's Sean Holman with breaking, up-to-the-minute truck news.
Thank you, Lightning. What are you doing?
I don't, just cracked me up.
Dude, there's so much stuff going on. We've obviously haven't done that much news lately because, we've been on the road and we pre-recorded a couple shows. So, do you want to start with have you heard?
I suppose so, sure. Oh, you need, have I heard?
No,
No, I haven't.
So pretty exciting. The Nissan Frontier gets a little bit of a freshening for 2025. A new front end that kind of is more reminiscent of the old hard body with the 3 slats in the leading edge. And then there's this cool new color called Afterburn Orange, which is like, it's retina searing. Along with the freshened front end and the new color, the intelligent around view monitor with enhanced off-road view camera now works at higher speeds. I believe it's up to 12 miles an hour now. I think before it would shut off at 2 or 5. So you'd have this around view, and then you'd go a little bit faster on the trail, and it would disappear. So much more usable now. Check this out. The long wheelbase configuration, which was only available in one model, is available across the line. So you can now get the 6-foot bed, whether it's a SL or SV or even a Pro 4X, which is something they haven't offered in a while. So that's pretty cool. And the maximum tow rating's been up to 7,150 pounds. So it's about 500 pounds more across the lineup. And then on the inside, we talked about it from the spy photos, but it's a new 12.3-inch touchscreen. And they add wireless Android Auto as well. And then comfort enhancements include a new standard telescopic steering wheel, 2-way power lumbar for the driver's seat on SV grades and higher. And, they've got this new wheel and tire package on the Pro 4X that I love. The wheels are super cool. You know how the Maverick Lobo kind of had the turbines? Mm-hmm. You know, that style where it's kind of like a dish and then the outer edge has it?
It looked like the rotiforms that were on my Mini Cooper.
So these kind of have that rotiform look to them where imagine if there's like that dish in the middle, except the fins are angled and then there's spokes that were cut into them. It's hard to describe.
I can't picture.
All right, I'm going to throw it up on the
okay.
pod shed screen here.
All right. So these were called aero discs, I think, back in the day, right? Audi used something similar. Let me take a look here. Oh, wow. No, I've never seen anything like that.
They're
what
cool,
in the
right?
world? Yeah. Holy.
No, I dig them. This is one, in my opinion, this might be one of the nicest or more freshest, if you will, freshy fresh, as you like to say.
Yeah.
Factory wheel and tire package.
So if you had an aero disc, which is a big flat surface with no openings, and then you cut some pie shapes into it, but then you took the center and you twisted it, and then those.
And then you had
shapes,
vents around the edges.
Yeah.
There's no way to describe it. I think they look freaking hot.
Wow.
It's a cool looking wheel.
This is a combination of a road wheel, something you'd see on like a sports car, but the way they've cut it, it looks off-roady. That's super.
You know, the
interesting.
Frontier has never been known for having a giant wheel and tire package. I think they're 32-inch tires, something like that. But for some reason, it makes the wheel and tire package look bigger. And then here's the photo of the freshened front end, looking a little bit tougher now.
And that's the new orange, that crazy
Yep.
orange color?
Yep.
Huh.
So, and then the interior also is it looks great. I think they did a good job of integrating the new screen, and definitely looks upscale. And there's a new applique on the.
I like
tailgate
the
as well.
Frontier, dead center.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Right below the monitor. Oh, I like those inlays. Are those new? I don't recall those in the door panels. The orange inlay.
No. On the handles, no.
Yeah.
Depended on the model, but yeah, the Pro 4X has had that before, and it depended
Okay.
if you had leather or cloth before. So
Okay, gotcha.
So anyway, super excited, and then they also have on the seats.
Oh, that
there's
looks
a cool
cool.
seat pattern where the color kind of shows behind
It's
some
a
mesh.
very, very small perforation
Yeah.
where the color is coming through from the backside.
So anyway, I think they did a great job on it, and can't wait to get behind the wheel. Oh,
Are we going to get one?
I don't know that we're going to get one, but we'll get one to drive. Yeah,
That's what I'm
absolutely.
saying.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool.
Hey, Lighting, have you heard?
Yes.
Well, then why are we doing
no,
this
I don't know.
segment?
I hit yes by accident.
Speaking of 2025 enhancements, the Toyota Tundra TRD Rally is a new decal package. But I think people are going to dig it. So it's going to be called the TRD Rally trim, and it's based on the TRD Off-Road, but it gets a bunch of cool decals like that, the 3 yellow, orange, red Toyota hashes that every Land Cruiser guy has.
Yeah. I see a lot of guys, like all the aftermarket sites, sell their own version of that. They've ripped off that little hash.
So Toyota said, hold my beer, and we're going to do it too from the factory for the 2025.
People love it. Yeah, it's kind of nostalgic, right?
Totally. So there it is up on the screen.
It's like their version of like the BMW triple slash before the
it
M.
hints back to racing, stadium racing with Ivan and things like that. So
damn, that's cool.
It's cool, right?
Yeah,
just a little splash of color.
I really like that.
It's a sticker and badge overlay.
But I like this. It's on just above the rocker, on the door
and
panel,
on the wheel center,
and
caps.
it's on the wheel center. Oh, that is really good on them.
Yeah, I think they did a good job. It's just kind of a fun thing.
Now, what would be really cool, Holman, is if on the center caps, if it was like a Bentley where it spun,
where it didn't spin, you mean?
Yeah, where it didn't spin.
That's
as you
the
were
rolls that do that.
The rolls in the Bentleys, yeah.
So, hey, lighting, did you hear?
I mean, no.
So apparently, EPA hit a Nebraska Ford dealer with a $40,000 fine for deleting diesel trucks.
At a dealership?
At a dealership, yeah. So
do they not know it's 2024?
They violated the Clean Air Act by installing diesel deletes on up to 20 pickup trucks. So Moody Motor Company out of Niobrara, I guess it is, Nebraska. They got sentenced for one charge of quote-unquote accessory after the fact to a Clean Air Act violation. This was announced by the U.S. Attorney following the dealership's trial on July 31st. So apparently this particular Ford dealership has been in operation for nearly 70 years.
Some a-hole tech decided that he was going to do it on the side or
first opened in 1955. And anyway, they basically ordered and installing third-party parts to do it. They didn't make the parts. And so again, they're going after...
There are some dealers, and I have no idea if this is one of them. There are some dealers that are kind of F the man, like the truck shouldn't have this EGR crap on them and DEF and all this other stuff, and they shouldn't be this way from the factory. And I have heard, there's hearsay that there are some dealers that definitely don't like it, especially up in Canada, because the laws are a little looser up there.
Canada is not the United States. So
I understand that, but
Clean Air Act there.
Yeah.
So apparently authorities found out about Moody Motors. They audited the Dallas company called Diesel Performance of Texas, and there were records that indicated the supplier sold parts to the Nebraska Ford dealership. And Moody reportedly purchased these kits 14 times from 2019 to 2022, and Tex installed the hardware in up to 20 trucks, they say. One of the trucks belonged to a relative of an employee who later explained that the delete was done because, quote-unquote, the truck was a trade-in that needed a lot of work done to it, including having sensors out, and this was easier than replacing the sensors. So I think there's a lot of people who can
That's an
appreciate
excuse
that.
I've heard a lot, yeah.
Yeah, but people who don't
I'm not
have
saying
the money,
it doesn't happen, yeah.
All right, so Lightning, have you heard? In another story of the lawyers always win, GM basically settled a class action suit because their 2011 to 2016 Chevy and GMC diesel trucks can't run on U.S. diesel, and this is all going back to the Bosch fuel pump. So
those are all of the LMLs.
Yeah. So apparently there's a class action suit, and it said regarding the specific years of Duramax engines and that they have faulty fuel pumps. The lawsuit claimed that the Duramax diesel engines used in Chevrolet and GMC vehicles from 2011 to 16 use Bosch fuel pumps that aren't designed for American diesel fuel, which is something that we've talked about before.
Yes.
That the Bosch fuel pumps are engineered for European diesel, which obviously has more lubricity and is thicker. And when they bring them over here, the thinner American diesel causes air pockets and other issues inside the pumps. And there's metal on metal contact, and then that damages the pump and then destroys the engine. This is where it kind of sucks. So
that doesn't suck enough?
No, it sucks more. So in 2019, GM told The Drive that it didn't believe the lawsuit had merit. Now they're paying a settlement, but they're only paying the 11 plaintiffs $5,000 each, while the law firms representing them get to split $15 million.
Wait, what? Hold on a second.
This is wrong. Check
wrong.
this out.
That does not compute.
Does not compute. Does not compute.
Well, check this out. It's also lame because GM's reimbursing customers who've had to pay for fuel pump-related repairs out of pocket. So all current owners of affected Duramax vehicles will get future warranty coverage, if they have a Bosch CP4.
That's good.
Okay, but the extended warranty will run up to 12 months from the final approval date of the class action lawsuit, or 2,000 miles from the vehicle's original purchase date. But it still requires owners to foot half the bill for the repairs.
Does not compute. Does not compute.
And there's one other caveat. The settlement only helps customers who bought trucks in California, Florida, Illinois, Iowa, New York, Pennsylvania, and Texas.
Why?
Apparently that's where the
What a
stick was.
crazy settlement that they came
I
out.
know.
Like, it's just the negotiations that happen behind closed doors. Bonkers.
Just you sit there and you just shake your head, and meanwhile the lawyers are smiling.
Yeah.
They're just like, yeah, whatever.
We're getting paid. We're on the clock.
Yep. Keep deliberating. We'll keep charging you. Hey, Lighting, did you hear?
What are you, deaf and stupid? I said no.
No.
According to GM Authority, sources tell them that GM is planning to launch the next generation Chevy Silverado and GMC Sierra 1500s during the 2026 or 2027 model year. So not too far away for those of you who are trying to decide, do I buy my pickup now or next year or the year after? Well, it sounds like the new ones are on the way.
Have we heard anything about the Rams? Because there was some scuttlebutt that the Rams, the HDs, were going to be all new powertrain for 25. Any news there?
Well, we know they're on the way because we've seen the spy photos, but I have not heard what's going on from an engine standpoint.
Okay.
But since the mothership of Stellantis is actively trying to destroy all things American and things we love,
They're going to put a small,
it's probably
little
going to be a
four-cylinder
rotary engine or something.
Rotary.
In there and just ruin.
Someone call
the
Rob
whole
Dahm and
brand.
get him to help Stellantis.
It just
build a RX-7 engine or whatever it is
no, it just
for a Ram truck.
makes me sad. It's stupid.
Can you imagine if Mazda and Ram got together?
And they're like, hey, look at this. Hey, Lighting, did you hear?
No.
The Ram 1500 Classic is finally dying.
Oh, finally.
So-
It's been 35 years.
I know. With the demise of the Hemi V8, this budget truck, which was the last generation DS truck, is going bye-bye.
I mean, seriously, it came out in like 92, didn't it?
No, that truck came out in 2009, I believe.
Okay.
So that's still a pretty long run.
It's tired. I mean, it doesn't look
No, it's still a
horribly
great-looking
outdated.
truck.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
the styling looks good, and the interior held out well. And, honestly, I've driven those trucks a lot, and they're not bad. Hey, Lighting, have you heard?
No.
Have you ever heard of the General Motors Futureliner?
Yes. Wow. Wait, the Futureliner's a big bus that looks super awesome, and
Yep.
it's like a
Was built-
time capsule, like 1950 something.
No, 1939. It was built
39.
for the World's Fair. There were
Yeah.
only 12 of them built. There's
I saw
actually
one. You and I saw one at SEMA a couple years ago.
well, there's actually a movie or something about the guy who tried to find all of them, or a documentary, and there's a bunch of websites because over time they've been sold off. Some have been scrapped, some are gone. There's only a few left. Anyway, apparently one of the ones that was built up and then restored is up for sale. So apparently this is the one that belonged to the Springfield, Massachusetts-based Peter Pan bus lines in the 90s. And it's on sale on Facebook, of all things. And so I know we have friends like Scott Birdsall who have a problem with Facebook Marketplace. They go on there and buy things. Should we maybe just send this to him?
You should click on it so I can see what they want for it, because I'm going to guess it's around $300,000.
Oh, and by the way, as of this writing, is sold.
Oh, as of right, and the price is, oh my God, I was way off. $998,000 sold.
Oh, it doesn't say what it's sold for, but it's sold now that we click on it. But.
I mean, it says sold.
Oh, this is number 7, by the way. So all of them were, not all of them are accounted for, and all of them were numbered, and so this is number 7. So
$1 million, dude.
I can see that.
I guess so.
A handful of custom. I mean, these things were awesome. Google Futureliner and read about the history because it's stunning. According to Peter Pan, it was for sale, but only through word of mouth. And then apparently now they want to move it along, and they did. So here's what's interesting: is the original drivetrain was replaced with a diesel engine. So now it drives more modern, I guess you could say. The single central seat for the driver is still there, which was one of the awesome things about the Futureliner. I guess it was in fairly good shape, but back in 2021, Peter Pan said anyone who wants to buy it would also have to remove the rusty hulk of the other Futureliner that was rotting behind the business. And so they had one, but it was used for parts and to build other future liners and things like that. So it's got a long history. It's very interesting and sounds like it's on to a new owner. So go Google future liner. Do yourself a favor.
All right.
Hey, lighting, did you hear?
Maybe.
Kind of an interesting story to come out of our friends from TFL Truck. It's talking about how your new 2024 Ford Ranger needs bed reinforcement if you're going to add a rack or camper on top. So apparently Ford is requiring customers of the 2024 Ford Ranger, ones that are not the Ranger Raptor, by the way, to install a available, what they call a load box reinforcement kit for non-Raptor models. It's $169. Basically allows you to carry a weight of over 88 pounds on top of the bed rails. And so they reinforce the bed. So if you have a camper or brackets, I would recommend you look into that.
Wow, how flimsy were the bed rails? They couldn't even hold 88 pounds prior to the reinforcement?
I don't know.
Wow.
But if you've got a Ranger Raptor and you plan on using the bed, it would behoove you to go get that particular upgrade.
I feel like they use Coors Light cans or something to like make the bed sides. That's nuts.
Don't know. Hey, lighting, have you heard?
No.
So according to a report from IC Cars, Toyota products are rated as some of the most likely to reach over 250,000 miles. The Tundra and Sequoia are 4 times more likely to achieve this milestone compared to the industry average. But there's also a few Chevy trucks and SUVs. Suburban, Silverado 1500, and Tahoe rank 7th, 10th, and 12th. And it's worth noting that it only applies to light-duty vehicles. But it says that with modern vehicles becoming more durable, there are 30 models that offer between a 12 and 36% chance of reaching 250,000 miles, which is pretty interesting. So specifically regarding pickup trucks, the Chevy Silverado 2500 HT was rated 3rd overall with a 29.9% chance of lasting 250,000 miles, which was 1.5 times longer than other trucks. For comparison, the 1500 was rated, again, 12th in the pickup category. So
and it doesn't talk about engine, correct? They're diesel versus gas.
It doesn't say drivetrain or
Just HD.
Just the model. I always worry about the tech or the lighting because like those headlights are like $2,400 if they go out, and I always wonder,
or the emission systems,
all of it. I mean, it just to me it's surprising to see modern vehicles lasting that long because it feels like there's so much stuff in them that's kind of throwaway. It's not like the vehicles of the 80s and 90s, which it seems like those things could potentially last forever.
You know what? It's kind of like you go to a machine shop and the guy's got like the old lathe from the 1930s, and it's going to last forever.
Well, you look at it, go to Warren. They make winches, and they have a whole floor of old World War II broaching machines, and they
that's
make
what I'm
all the
talking
gears,
about.
right?
Yeah, like
I mean,
all that.
They still use those.
They're so heavy and so dense, and like they're just not good. They don't wear out. They were so stout, so well made back then. Nothing was disposable.
All right, and on a final note of news, just because I think this will make you smile. I hope it does.
Wait, by the way, no, I've not heard.
Okay. Hey, lighting. You haven't heard about this, so I'm told. Somebody took a C6 Corvette and turned into a quote-unquote trail boss. It's for sale in Illinois, and it looks rad. It's on
That is super cool.
33-inch tires.
Yeah.
And it's freaking awesome.
Superfast Matt here out of Southern California. He's a former engineer. Really amazing channel. If you're into engineering, go to see Superfast Matt on YouTube. But he is taking a Dodge Viper and turning it into a long travel off-road vehicle. It's crazy.
Yeah, there's a few off-road Vipers that have been made. I've seen maybe I saw one of the stories that had to do with him. This Corvette's rad, though, because it has Trail Boss stickers on the rear fender. It has 33-inch Toyo Open Country AT tires. It's got a winch, a light bar, an aftermarket hitch.
It does not look like it'll turn lock to lock, though. Look at how tight
cares?
that fit. Yeah,
there's pictures of it in the sand dunes and going over off-road. It has a 430 horsepower, 6.2-liter LS3 in it, 424 pound-feet of torque, and it is sent through the 6-speed manual transmission. If I had just throwaway money right now, I would fly to Illinois at this moment, and I would go buy that. As of the writing of this piece, it was a starting price of $23,000.
Yeah.
And I would just go buy it because that thing, it looks rad. And
it is rad.
It just looks like it would just put a smile on your face. It's unbelievable. So, and of course, this is another thing on Facebook Marketplace. So I will,
of course,
although I don't want to send this to Birdsall because he'll
buy it.
He'll buy it.
Yeah, he will. If you guys come across a news story that you think is worthy of putting on the Truck Show Podcast, please do send us an email and a link to the story, truckshowpodcast@gmail.com.
The Truck Show, the Truck Show, the Truck Show. Oh, oh.
And don't forget to follow us on social at Truck Show Podcast, at LBC Lighting, at Sean P. Holman. You can see all of our reels and adventures and fun things. You can help Lightning remain viral on his Ballard video, all that stuff. And I know some of you have sent us emails. Google Podcasts went away, and Google Music doesn't support podcasts. They moved everything over to YouTube. So we are in the process of transferring all of our podcasts natively to YouTube, but you'll also see that there are videos that are basically just the podcast audio feed as a YouTube video. So if you're on YouTube, you can listen, watch. I know Lightning links those from our website as well.
Yeah, and head over to the events page on truckshowpodcast.com. I added some more events. It's like a sea of C10 events. I don't know why. The C10 people, that community is just bonkers. They have a lot of stuff. They're always out on Sundays all across the country. A couple new Jeep events. So anyway, go to truckshowpodcast.com and click on the events tab. And one thing, I just got to kill that music. It's killing me for a second. All right. One thing I want to thank you guys. I got a very sweet note from Chris, the owner of Habanero Cordless Heating Tools. You guys crushed it. You bought so many of his cordless soldering irons. He was like, it was a heartfelt thank you. He's like, this is really, really what this brand needed. Thank you so much. And thank you guys for taking advantage of that discount code, Holman. It's like, I don't want to tell you the number on the air, but it's a lot.
And that reminds me, I haven't bought mine yet because I was planning on doing that.
I know that. I want to read this from Ray. Hello, Lightning and Holman. Listen to Season 2, Episode 112 last Friday night. Immediately ordered the Habanero Diablo kit that you guys recommended to replace my beloved but worn-out Weller propane butane powered. So I saw that whopping discount, so I bought 2 of them, one for me and one for my electrical genius brother. Amazingly, I received a text Saturday mid-morning saying the Diablo kits were packed and will ship Monday, and the person sending the text said to feel free to ask them any questions. Absolutely amazing customer service. Can't wait to try out my Habanero Diablo soldering iron. So anyway, that's a wonderful note from Ray, and so thank you guys for stepping up. We don't make any commission or anything like that off this. It's really cool when you guys support. So thank you.
And support us by continuing to listen to the show, share it with your friends, share it on socials, and also by leaving us a 5-star review. You can go to Spotify, you can go to Facebook, you can go to Apple. We haven't had any good reviews in a while on Apple Podcasts, so
step it up, guys.
Come on, we want to read some funny stuff.
And a lot of you
Hook a brother up.
A lot of you guys are transferring your listening habits from Apple over to Spotify. If that's you and you're like me, you listen to Spotify a lot, please leave us a 5-star review on Spotify because the platform is just getting bigger and we want to get out there.
All right. Thank you, Nissan, for being the presenting sponsor of the Truck Show Podcast. And if you're looking for a new midsize truck, head on down to your local Nissan dealership and get yourself a Nissan Frontier, or wait a couple months because the 25s are on the way.
No. You're going to get a deal now.
Oh, no, get a deal now. But
we need to show Nissan some sales now.
25s are pretty good.
Yeah, they are.
All right. NissanUSA.com.
That orange is pretty cool. I'm not going to lie. And the summer heat is still going, and that means your gears are cooking in your rear end. If you want a longer-lasting rear differential, that means you need to keep the lubrication temps down. You do that by heading over to bankspower.com and picking up a patented Ram Air rear differential cover. It cools 5 times better than stock and all of the competitors. Longer-lasting lube means longer-lasting gears. Head over to bankspower.com to get yours.
And when you get your diff cover, the first fill is AMSOIL directly from Banks. So comes in the pouch, easy to do, great stuff. And also, if you've got maintenance such as an oil change, you definitely want to check out AMSOIL's brand new oil change kits. You can order that through the AMSOIL vehicle lookup, and it comes with everything you need for an oil change in one box. That includes whatever your recommended AMSOIL motor oil is, your AMSOIL oil filter, a pair of gloves, AMSOIL fast funnel, and even an AMSOIL oil change interval decal, so it reminds you when your next service is due. All that and more at AMSOIL.com, the first in synthetics.
And if you're like Holman and you find yourself in a hailstorm, even though it's 80 degrees out and you're on top of a mountain and you're like, I need to get out of this horrible hail, if only you had an EGR Roll Track automatic tonneau cover.
Does it go over the cab also?
It doesn't,
Okay,
but you
checking.
can crawl in the bed and be safe. Head over to EGRUSA.com to pick up an EGR roll track for your midsize truck or your full-size truck.
The Truck Show Podcast is a production of Truck Famous LLC. This podcast was created by Sean Homan and Jay Tillis with production elements by DJ Omar Khan. If you like what you've heard, please open your Apple Podcast or Spotify app and give us a 5-star rating. And if you're a fan, there's no better way to show your support than by patronizing our sponsors.
No! No!